Thank you so much for joining us on the Dwelling Show. I'm your host, Ola Dantes. I've got Brandon Baines with us today. Hey, Brandon, how you doing?
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We've got a lot to talk about, but I think you can probably start off the show by telling our listeners, who Brandon is, what you've been doing, and kind of what you've been up to lately, actually.
Yeah, no, great. I appreciate you having me on. Again, I've started, and we talked about this a little bit before. I do some content around real estate investing. So, again, my name is Brandon Barnes, and I've been wholesaling real estate since 2016. And for those who don't know what wholesaling is, it's just the art of finding off-market properties at a discount. And so then what you do with them is, anybody's decision, whether you want to fix it up and flip it or hold it or just immediately sell it for profit. And that's usually what we do in our business. But I'm from Stone Mountain, Georgia, and Atlanta is my main market. And like I said, I've been wholesaling since 2016, and I'm super excited to be here. I do some coaching for other aspiring real estate investors with my Send More Offers coaching program.
Thank you so much for that intro. Definitely a lot to talk about. But let's kind of just rewind a little bit. Before 2016, what were you doing, and what was that kind of impetus for going into real estate investing? Why you could have done anything else in the world, but you chose
Right.
real estate and wholesaling, which is, I mean, it's not the easiest, right?
Right.
Strategy. I'm sure you know that I'm preaching to the choir. So just kind of tell us a little bit, kind of what you were doing and what was the premise for going into real estate investing.
Awesome. Yeah. So I graduated from Purdue University. I started at Georgia State, transferred up there, and finished. I got into the corporate world. I was gonna, climb the corporate ladder, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur always. But I thought I would just find some opportunity to work with the startup company sometime down my career. But things didn't happen like that. So I started working for the H.J. Heinz company, the ketchup company, out of college. And I was in a leadership development program, and I was going to do 3 years with them and rotate to different cities. But after that first year, they moved me to like Illinois, Iowa, the border, and the Quad Cities. They got bought out. And so my job, they wanted me to come back to Pittsburgh, but I had already moved my family there. So I had to find a local job. So I ended up working as a production supervisor for the Oscar Mayer Craft Company. And then they got bought out. And then I had an opportunity to come back to Georgia to work with Talenti, a gelato company. And I bet you can guess they got bought out too. So three different corporate jobs around operations, logistics, and supply chain. And the companies kept getting acquired. And I got fired at that last role. And so I called a buddy that I met in Pittsburgh, right out of college, and asked him about real estate because he talked about real estate all the time. And lo and behold, he had moved to Atlanta and was like, hey, come through. I'm working with this mentor program. You can learn from them. I'll give you the access to the course. And I did that literally January of 2016. Started to do stuff with him. I, got my first contract in February, closed my first deal for like 15K that I split with him in March. And so that just opened the door to everything else. And I just was on a path to grow the wholesaling business from 2016.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think there's a lot to unpack there. So yeah, really appreciate that kind of foundation to kind of make the listener thinking, I want to do what Brandon is doing. How did he kind of get there, right? So you mentioned a couple of things, right? Basically, you wanted to be in the corporate world, right? But things didn't work out the way you wanted to, and then you got back home, and then you reached out, right, to someone. And then you opened yourself up to try something new, right? How easy was it for you before you got to that first 15K, 50-50 split with your partner? How easy was it for you? I mean, of course, you had lost your job, but how easy was it to try this brand new idea called real estate to you at the time?
Yeah, look, I mean, it was tough because I had just lost that job. And to be completely clear, I got married October 10th, 2015, and I was fired within 2 weeks of that. So I had a young son, who was 8 months old, just fired. I was looking for jobs, didn't know what I was going to do. And so when I jumped in with him, I was just doing a lot of driving for dollars, wanting to figure out if this thing was, a legit opportunity. But everything that we talked about and everything that the coaching program talked about, just talked about how much opportunity there is to get into real estate, which is the supreme wealth building tool, and to get in it with almost no money down, right? Through wholesaling. So it was a lot of driving for dollars, a lot of talking to sellers. But my coach always says that the biggest results sometimes happen in the outliers. So it was like that first 1,000 postcards that I dropped, I got a deal. But the next few thousand, I didn't get any. So, the whole, that very first deal came somewhat quickly. It took me a while to get my next ones and continue to get going. But mentorship is key, because I had that mentor program and I actually joined it in June of that year. I was able to follow the steps. And so I always say, if you have a mentor and somebody to help you get going, that's going to be the best and quickest path to success. So through that mentor program, I actually really solidified my business. I hired my first team member, an assistant, to do the admin work that July. So 7 months in, I hired my first full-time team member who's still with me to this day. And between me and her, really building that business, I was able to do six figures, like right around 119K that very first year. So, it was tough. It was a new thing, but I had mentorship and guidance of how to build it as a business from that very first beginning. And so I was able to do six figures that year, same thing second year. And then by the third year, I actually built a larger team for cold calling, and we did seven figures in year three, and then again in year four.
Wow, there's a lot in there as well. My goodness. You got married, you have a young child and then lost your job. I mean, some people would have just said that's it, just kind of given up there, but then you kind of push forward. So I really appreciate you giving that context as well, actually.
Mhm.
Because for someone listening to this, they might be going, well, that's interesting, Brandon, but I don't have any money. Like, what do you, and I love the fact that you said you can start real estate through wholesaling with little money, right? I think it's very interesting when you hear a lot of folks saying, you can start real estate with no money. It's a very interesting conversation, and I'm sure you can share your thoughts, but you need money, some sort of money, even if it's $500. I don't care,
Right.
something. You need something,
100%.
right? Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? If somebody's listening to this, I try to be a proxy for our listeners, right? If there's somebody in the car saying, Ola, you should ask, about me. What if I don't have money? What, how can I get in? How can I get started?
Right. Yeah. So to your point, you have to have something, right? At least for your gas money. If you want to start off driving for dollars and getting houses that, stand out, that look like they can be improved, you need to have the gas money to drive. Or if you're going to write letters, even, having, 50 cents postage, right? To be able to send letters to them. And to your point, or to my earlier statement about the gas money, even if you're going to knock on doors, like there are some ways that you can really be very scrappy very early on, but it's still going to take some level of funds just to get going. And one of my mentors says, look, if somebody kidnapped your child right now and said, the only way you get your child back is if you do a deal in the next 2 to 3 months, you're going to find a way to get at least some amount of money to be able to start your marketing, whether that's gas money, postage money, letter money, or a phone line to be able to call homeowners. Like you have to have something to get going. It doesn't have to be a lot. If you're leveraging your other most, I really your main most valuable resource is your time. And so I was committed. I was fully in. I didn't have a backup plan. And so I put all my time into it as well, with a little bit of cash for those first few months, to do some of the marketing, and that consistency was what helped me get to that first deal, and then the next one, and then the next one.
All right. So I'm also thinking tactically as well, like in the wholesaling business, which I don't really know much about from speaking to guests like yourself. So kind of help us walk through a typical marketing strategy. I mean, we've done some with kind of on the multifamily side, trying to we speak to a lot of owners, but I'm sure it's a little bit different with um, some of the single family, I guess, sellers. So can you kind of walk us through your typical, marketing strategy? What are you guys doing? Are you, also doing handwritten letters? What are you guys doing, or what is your winning strategy in terms of trying to get a buyer, right? To actually come on the buy side and then a seller to sell you the house, and you're like in the middle.
Right. Yeah. So my main strategy has been cold calling. But what I do, what I teach, what I preach is sending more offers. And so that is something that I've built a whole coaching program around, is how do I get you to, you as a student, right, to send, 10, 20, even 50 plus offers each and every week. So however you choose to generate leads is up to you, but what I want to focus my students on is to send actual live offers to these homeowners and then follow up on your offer. And I teach a way to quickly come up with the offer price, to automate the offer submission process. And by leading first with your offer, you're just putting yourself in the front of the line, because as homeowners are being inundated with calls, emails, texts, mail, um, you know, half the time they actually don't have somebody that completes the entire play by sending them an offer, so that they can actually, consider and negotiate terms, to get under contract. So our primary lead generation strategy is cold calling, where I'll have somebody on the phone. We use the Mojo dialer, so mojosales.com. We'll either buy a list, or we'll get a bunch of houses and their information, by driving for dollars, however you want to do that. But you could simply purchase a list from list source. You could skip trace it through batchskiptracing.com, get the phone numbers, upload them into Mojo from Mojo Sales, and then call that list, see if they would be interested in an as is offer for their home. Once they say yes, then you're going to look at the comps in the area. You're going to make an offer based off of what you see on the map as sold homes around the area. And then you're going to submit a simple 2-page agreement, as an offer. You're going to follow up with them, get them to sign that offer by letting them explaining the process. And once you have a signed contract, you can go out. It's one of the easiest places is if you search for your city. For instance, if I go on Facebook and search Facebook groups, Atlanta real estate investing, there's going to be a bunch of different groups and a bunch of different people posting deals. Hey, I have a contract. I have a property at 123 Main Street. Is anybody interested in it? You post that there. I would post it without the street number. And then a lot of people are going to be saying, hey, send it to me, send it to me, send it to me. Send it to them, vet them. You go under contract with them, and then you take it to your closing attorney, and they're going to close the deal for you, and you made your money. Simple as that.
Wow. 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 Thank you so much for sharing that. And not only just sharing that, from a systematic perspective, but also giving us the names of the vendors and software you use, and really appreciate that. You're definitely giving us the secret sauce here. One
Yeah,
thing that you did mention is automating the offer, right? So every time we hear that word automation, are you actually have you just like simplified the process, or do you have some kind of like tactical software in which you're spitting out your contract and emailing it? I mean, what is that process like?
for sure. So we've created a web form in our business, so where you can just type in the information, and it merges it into a template, and then you can send it directly through the software,
What's the name of the software?
go through DocuSign. But so we use Pipe Drive. and it's connected to PandaDoc. So PandaDoc is like DocuSign, and Pipedrive is CRM, so customer relationship manager. So you can create a file, John Doe 123 Main Street. Purchase price is $80,000. You've already uploaded your agreement template into Pipedrive, and then it connects to PandaDoc. You hit send, and then it sends it through PandaDoc to go to the seller for them to sign. Once they sign, it comes back as a completed document. So I've simplified that process. I've actually created a step-by-step guide on how to set that up. And if anybody goes to sendmoreoffers.com, they can see kind of the offering that I have to show people how to do that.
Wow, that is awesome. I really like that. It's really, really, really interesting because when you said that, I made an offer recently on one of the deals we're looking at. I believe it was a 5.7 million offer. And in my offer, because I actually normally would go, I use Keynote. I'm a big Apple fan. And
Nice.
I would just like change. I have like an automation where I can just set to today and it changes it to the like today's date. So that's fine, right? Just a click of a button.
Right.
But on the address, right, and on the purchase price, I'll put like, ABC apartments located at, 123 Main Street. And then I have to put the name, right, sometimes, or maybe our name. So if I know of Pipe Drive, but I didn't know you could actually, just kind of have a standard form and that will pre-populate at least my contract and send that to the, to my, in our case, to the broker, right? So that's
Yeah.
really interesting. I really appreciate that's something I can take over to, our multifamily side as well. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So I mean, we can, I want to keep going on, but before we go into the quick rounds, I usually like to get I guess to talk about a case study, a deal that you really like. Maybe it's the 15K one, or maybe you made the most money or you helped somebody the most. Just kind of tell us about the deal. How did you find it? How did you fund it? And what was like the backstory as well on that deal?
Yeah, for sure. I'll just, for simplicity's sake, talk about the deal we closed yesterday.
I
Um,
like
so,
that.
and so we had one. It was actually a very cheap deal. I was surprised that it actually worked out because it's in Griffin, Georgia, which is south of the city. It's about 30-45 minutes south of Atlanta. So when the lead came through, I was like, I don't know if it's gonna work out because he got it under contract. My acquisition manager on my team got it under contract for like $18,000, and I'm like, well, it's a crappy house. It probably isn't going to work out. But what it was this was an absentee owner. So this is a guy that owns the home, but in the tax records, you see that his mailing address is different from the property address. So we downloaded a list of absentee owners, and then we called it and then say, hey, would you be interested in an as-is offer for your home? And he said yes. So then my cold caller sent it to my acquisition manager. He spoke to the person, talked through our process, asked him, if he would be interested in selling. He said, yep, I got some tenants there. I'm just, this is the one property. He has a few other properties and a few commercial properties. This is the one property outside of his main portfolio that he cares about that he would just be ready to offload. He said, okay, great. Well, look, I see some homes in the area that have sold for this. We can offer 18K. He said, all right, look, I'm good to go. So they signed an agreement. And then so what we did is we sent out an email to our buyers list, like all the people that we've talked to in the past that say, hey, I'm interested in off-market properties. We sent it to that group to see if they were interested. And we set up a walkthrough at the property. My guy went down and took pictures, and then hosted these buyers to come to the property. The best offer came in at like 38. So it was a 20K deal, which I was surprised. But look, it's a cheap house, and they're just going to put some money into it. They'll probably be all in for 50, 60 grand and then have a cash flowing rental. Because I think it's a hedge fund buyer that actually bought it, that has a bunch of properties. And for them, it's just another property on a paper in their portfolio. And so we got that buyer under contract, sent to the closing attorney, and we closed the deal yesterday. But one thing that I had to do was, in today's day, right? COVID and everything going on, evictions are on a hold. So every deal that we get under contract that has a tenant, I'm leading first to the tenant, offering them
Cash for keys.
cash for keys. Exactly. And so the lady was like, yeah, I need $750 for a deposit on a new place. All right, but
Yeah.
then when I went to the leasing office, it was like, did she tell you that we need another 750 for first month's rent? And she didn't say that, but I was like, hey, we'll do it. I will pay $1,500 all day, every day to
To
make
make
20.
20. I like the maths.
Exactly. The math is excellent. So I went on and took care of that. I helped her get out the house. And they actually went to the property yesterday because my disposition manager is out of town. I went to the property, got keys, took pictures, showed my buyer it was vacant. And we closed on that deal yesterday for 20K. So
Wow, congrats. No, that's a really good. These are the kind of stories I like to hear. I really, really appreciate that. And frankly, to be honest with you, I've said this on the record. It just brings me so much joy to see people that look like me in this game.
yeah.
It brings me nothing but so much joy. Um, I mean, in my space, in multifamily syndication, there are a few of us, right?
Mhm.
But not at the level we should be, not even close, right?
No.
So I just love that, you kind of sharing the stories and just really being humble about it as well. It's really refreshing. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Um,
look, look, I want to get to where you are. Like I've been doing single family for 4 years, going on 5 years, and I know that there's another layer, another level to this, and that's leveling up to multifamily. So that's
well,
something
now you know a guy. Now you know a guy. You don't even need to get to the level. You're already on the level. We just need to talk and say, hey, this is how you gotta do it. I'm right here for you, sir. Anytime you're ready, sir. Anytime.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it, Ola.
Yeah, so we're definitely dwelling into the quick rounds. These are going to be quick questions, quick answers. You ready, sir?
Let's do it.
All right. First question. What makes you unique, Brandon? What is that differentiating factor that separates you from the next guy or from the next girl?
Yeah, I think it's been the leadership experience, the supervision experience that I've had in the former corporate roles, and what I saw at major organizations like Heinz, like Kraft, and then like Unilever. And I apply that same approach to my business, and it's very systematic. And one thing that I did that separated me was I hired a full-time assistant 6 months in, to wholesaling, which is kind of rare, right? And that helped me get so systematic that we were able to, do six figures our first year. And as I brought on team members, I've been able to lead them towards a common goal. And so that is really, I think, helped set me apart from a lot of the other wholesalers. This is my corporate experience, focusing on leadership, and then having a systematic approach to my business from day one.
Wow, love it. Second question. I can tell you're an avid reader like myself. You got your books at the back. What was the last book that you read, and what was the one thing you picked up from that book?
Funny enough, like we talked about this right before this call. I'm currently reading How to Start a Podcast.
Nice.
I forget the lady's name, but it's a great read. Very simple. How to Start a Podcast. That's what I'm reading right now.
Nice, nice. Final question. So you're doing great. You're scaling the business. You're doing well. You got your coaching business. You got your family, doing a ton. What do you do for fun?
Great question. Right now it's really playing with the kids. I have four. I have the one son that lives in
Wow.
Illinois, but we have three little ones between me and my wife. And it's just when the downtime is figuring out what they want to do, playing with them, taking them outside, jumping on the bouncy house. That's my downtime, playing with the kids. And look,
Man.
and we're not done. My wife wants at least one or two more. So
Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
we're
Yeah, we
keeping
have
going.
two girls, and yeah, sometimes I feel like I don't even have enough energy to play with her by the time
Oh
I'm done. But
man.
yeah, and I can
We
totally.
got we got three boys, and then my daughter is the baby girl.
Oh, oh,
She's already a little rough housing with them. So it's very
that's so
exciting.
awesome. That is so awesome. Well, Brandon, I mean, if there's somebody listening to us and think, well, I really like this guy. Maybe they're in the Georgia market or anywhere in the country, or maybe they want to learn more about send more offers, your website. And what's the best way people can reach out, get to know you, get connected with you?
Yeah, that's it. Sendmoreoffers.com. If you go to that site, there's some social links at the bottom. But if you want to learn more, there's a button on there that you can click, and we'll give you a call.
Brandon, appreciate you. You're a legend. Thank you so much.
Thank
Hopefully we'll
you.
be talking soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Ola.